It's mid-year and it's time to freak out. We are midway through the year and it's time to freak out. Now that we're at the middle of the year, it seems like the perfect time to start considering some of the best and worst books so far. One of the best ways to do this is with the mid-year freakout tag. This tag has been going around Booktube and various book social media communities for years now, possibly a decade, and I think the original creator was Earl Grey Books. I'll link to them in the description below, and if I'm wrong about that, then apologies. There are 14 questions. I've not prepared any answers, so we're gonna go off the cuff and try and give you my most genuine answers. The first question is the best book you have read in 2026. And for this one, I am going to say The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This came out last year, but I didn't get to it then. It is a fantasy world mystery where we have various groups or sects within the political sphere. Each one has an animal god that they look to and that they try to emulate the traits of. As the Emperor's, I think it's 15-year term is up, we're now having a contest where a representative from each of these animal sects have to compete to become the new Emperor. When the Raven's candidate for the competition is murdered, a Raven Scholar, one of their scholars, has to take her place so that she can investigate the crime at the Emperor's behest, as her fellow Ravens suspect her of the crime. I was blown away by this book. I wasn't expecting the twists. The twists were fantastic, but they were also completely earned. I think when you got to the reveals, you could suddenly see all the little steps that had got you there, all the little hints and tricks, but I would never have seen them coming. But the new reality that that twist revealed makes perfect sense, as much as what we believed before the twist. And it was just impeccably done. Mystery and political intrigue in a really interesting fantasy world setting. I'm very, very excited to read the sequel, so that would be my choice. The second question follows that up with the best sequel you read in 2026. And I think this might be recency bias because I have literally just read it, but I do think it's the best sequel I've read this year. Would be Husband Material by Alexis. It is the third book in his London Calling trilogy that starts with Boyfriend Material. That is a fake dating, kind of opposites attract contemporary romance. We are following Luke, the child of two aging rock stars. He works for a beetle conservation charity, and because of the publicity he gets that he doesn't necessarily want, he finds that his job is in danger in the first book and ends up fake dating Oliver, a very respectable solicitor, so that he can redeem his public image and keep his job. Oliver is agreeing to this because he's fancied Luke for a while, but also he needs a date for a family event that's happening, and he has his own complex relationship with his parents. This third book is them 5 years into their relationship. They are looking to expand their family, and they're doing that both via a dog, Spud, and Spud is very much a test case to see if there are any other family additions they might want to make. I love these books. I love Alexis Hall's contemporary romances. I love his writing. I love the humour that comes through in these. I don't know if it's a very British humour, but I always love them. An author by author for me, and probably one of my favourite series in general, so no surprise that this was my favourite sequel. The third question is a new release you haven't read but want to. And I'm really bad for this. We know this. I have been a bit better this year because I've been making a point to read at least one new release each month in the month it comes out, so I'm not as behind on this as I might have been. But I think the one I would pick is probably Mortedant's Peril by R.J. Barker. I think that's how you pronounce the title. It's another fantasy mystery. R.J. Barker is a brand new author to me, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if I enjoy it because it's a new author I might love. But also, you know that fantasy mysteries are my top tier type of book. From the blurb, I get the feeling this might be a little bit, I mean maybe a more expanded upon, but a little bit like Catherine Addison's Witness for the Dead series. So I'm very excited about it. The description is, in a city of ancient autonoma, strange spirits and sleeping gods, a cleric of death finds his own life on the line in this vividly imagined fantasy murder mystery. I have it, I pre-ordered it. It's not even on my bookshelf, it's on the floor next to my bookshelf. So this is one that I really, really want to get to by the time I'm doing these kind of end of the year check-ins. The fourth question is your most anticipated read for the second half of the year. And there are, again, there's a lot of options, there's a lot of choices. But I think if I'm being just kind of gut instinct, then I think it would be, I think it's called Daggerbound by T. Kingfisher. It is the sequel to Swordheart, which is one of my all-time favourite books. And I've been crying out for a sequel to that book since long before a sequel was even potentially on the horizon. I've been looking forward to this since the first whisperings of it came out. So I think I have to pick that. I really don't know much about what Daggerbound is about though. Swordheart, we were following Hala and Sarkis. Hala comes into an inheritance when her husband dies, and her husband's family want to marry her off again against her will to keep the money in the family. She sees no way out but to take a sword off the wall, but when she picks up this sword, a man explodes out of it and he vows to protect her while she goes off on a quest to find proof that she needs so that she can not marry someone she doesn't want to marry. I love the book. It's a road trip book but with lots of really fun aspects to it. I love Hala as a character. She's a little bit older. She's very T. Kingfisher protagonist coded. She's very kind of quiet, a little bit mousy, practical. I like that they have a kind of gimmick throughout the book where Hala pretends to be more flighty, stupider than she is, and kind of plays down to people's expectations of what they think of this kind of blubbery, like crying middle-aged woman to get them out of situations where maybe either, you know, swords and might or legal maneuverings might not have worked. She kind of just embarrasses people into leaving her alone, and I really like that as a kind of survival trait. This is also set in the same universe as the Saints of Steel series, which is, you know, Paladin's Grace, Paladin's Strength, etc. So I'm really excited to have a new installment in it. I also think this one might be an Achillean romance, which would be just chef's kiss. The next question is biggest disappointment. And I have DNF'd a few books this year. I don't usually. I've DNF'd more books this year though, and I've been making a point to try to DNF books when I'm not enjoying them. But I think if it's a genuine disappointment, it's maybe not even a book I DNF'd, it just didn't live up to what I hoped. I think my choice for this would be Salem's Lot by Stephen King, just because I had very high hopes for it. I was reading a couple of Stephen King books for a vlog idea because I've never read Stephen King before, and obviously he's such a well-known household name in the horror genre. I thought it would be nice to try some of his books, and I really did my research narrowing it down to what books to pick, and I ended up with like another 10 books, but I ended up going with Salem's Lot because I heard it was about vampires, and while I did respect / I was interested in the way he used vampires in that book, overall you could have taken 300 pages out of the book and it would still have been too long. I was bored for the vast majority of it and I just didn't have a good time. And I think for being one of my first Stephen King books, for being it was a long book I picked, I think it was about 500-600 pages, which isn't so long, but was long. It felt long. And I guess I thought I would enjoy it more because A, well-known author, everyone adores, and also it being his vampire book, I thought this one was a shoo-in, and it was disappointing. Next question is biggest surprise, which I feel like is a much harder question because I don't mood read a lot. I tend to have done a lot of research before I pick up a book, so I buy very few books I don't think I'm going to love, so being surprised by how much I enjoy a book is not that common. I pick up books thinking I'm going to like them. The one that comes to mind immediately, and if I'm wrong, I'll edit it, but I think I read it this year. I think I read it in the very beginning of this year. Would be Heated Rivalry. I know that everyone and their mum has read and loved Heated Rivalry this year, or yeah, you see, I said everyone. I didn't love the book. I had problems with Rachel Reid's writing, but I also was utterly hooked. And I think I've said that about I've read the first 3 books in the series, of which Heated Rivalry is the second, I think. And everyone have been like, her writing's not great, but she does something with these characters, with the books, that are just like, she hooks you. I don't know how, but yeah, I think that was the biggest surprise because I'd heard that the writing wasn't great, so I didn't have the highest expectations, and I ended up being like, oh my god, they're adorable. I think I preferred Heated Rivalry, the TV show, to Heated Rivalry, the book, but I did watch the show first. But yeah, overall, yeah, I think though that's the most surprising. Taken as a whole, like the 3 books I've read and the show. Favourite new author? I think even just going back through some of the questions I've already answered, I could add a few. I mean, Antonia Hodgson with The Raven Scholar was fantastic. Rachel Reid with Heated Rivalry and Assorted Books. Favourite new author? I bought the whole series. Who else? Favourite new authors? Elian Morgan with Princeweaver was another favourite and one I really liked. I don't think I've read any new authors where I've read kind of unconnected books from them, where I could be like, it is the author that is the new favourite rather than the series or the books. So yeah, I think it would be one of the ones we've already mentioned. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't know that I do the whole fictional crush thing. Again, am I just going to say Rachel Reid characters for all this? But they are adorable. The Rachel Reid's various characters. I really liked his name. The protagonist, the hockey protagonist of the 3rd book. He's kind of the big burly one. He's an enforcer, but he's a softie inside. I thought he was adorable. But yeah, I don't think I can say a favourite crush from a new book. Number 9 is newest favourite character. So the last one's like, you have a crush on them, but you don't like them. This one's probably actually easier. I would say right off the top of my head, the first one that comes to mind is Anne from The Unicorn Hunters by Katherine Arden. It's a kind of fantastical alternate history of Anne, the Duchess of Brittany, and in this it adds in fae and magic and mystical curses on her land as she tries to get out of having to marry the King of France, who is going to subsume the Duchy of Brittany into French control. I loved the kind of unrepentant political manoeuvring that went on in that book, and I really enjoyed Anne as a character. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. I'm pretty much an unfeeling wench at this point. Lots of books make me cry, but it's not usually because they're a sad book or they're particularly emotional book. It's entirely the mood I'm in. Sometimes there's nothing really emotional about it, but I'll sob like a baby, and other times it's like deeply heartbreaking and I'm just like, but I think I would maybe say How to Lose a Goblin in 10 Days by Jessie Sylva. It's a cozy romantasy about is it an orc and a goblin? No, it's not an orc and a goblin. It's a halfling and a goblin. In a very Shire-like setting. They both feel that they have the right to a cottage and they end up having to live together and work together. And it's very much about their different kind of culture clash, their different societies going up against each other. It's very autumnal, and I did read it when I had a horrible cold. So I was maybe a bit weepy anyway, but I do think I ended up being a little bit like teary when we got to the kind of third act, you know, conflict and things. But yeah, that's a very, very cozy book, but I think that maybe made me a little bit weepy. A book that makes you happy is the next question. Have I? Yeah, I've already said. In preparation for father material, I reread boyfriend material and husband material. I don't know if it's cheating to say those because maybe they're just fresh in my head, but like, they make me so happy, those books. That whole trilogy from Alexis Hall. So it might be those. There are lots of books that I enjoyed and maybe that I think are better books, but I think they made me happy. So I think I'm gonna go with those again. Number 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought this year. And again, I potentially could put the Unicorn Hunters here because I think it is one of the most beautiful covers, specifically the US cover rather than the UK cover. But because of that, I haven't actually bought it yet. I got an e-arc, but I want the US cover for my physical shelf because it's stunning. But if it's books you've bought this year, then it would be The Poet Empress by Shen. This is another book where the US cover has just, in my opinion, blown the UK cover out of the water. It's stunning, and I ordered a copy imported specifically because the cover is gorgeous. I'll put a bit of a flick through here while I'm talking, but it has a stunning jacket, it has a stunning hardcover, it has gorgeous kind of bronzy gold copper sprayed edges and absolutely stunning end papers. So the book is every bit of it is beautiful. So yeah, that one, that's the most beautiful book I've bought this year. Number 13 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I wouldn't even know where to start with this one because I have books from this half of the year that I still haven't read, and there's a good number of those. Plus there's everything that's coming out in the second half of the year that I want to read. Plus there's all the backlist books that I haven't got to yet that I just have been meaning to read. So honestly, I can't even pick what that would be. I guess we picked a kind of one from the first half that you haven't got to yet. I picked one that I'm most anticipating this year. So I guess for this question, the thing would be a book that's not a 2006 release that I want to get to by the end of the year. I think the easiest choice for this would be That Inevitable Ruin, which is the 7th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I also want to get to A Parade of Horribles, book 8, which did come out this year, but obviously book 7 is backlist for me technically, so I think that would probably be my choice for that question. And then question 14 is your favourite book community member, and I have way too many booktubers I love, way too many book bloggers that I follow religiously and I talk to, and I love to there's no way to pick this. So that was the mid-year freakout tag. I'm fairly happy with my answers. I think I've probably put similar books on a couple of spots. It's maybe not as diverse as I would like it to be, but they're the answers that I have off the top of my head now, so they're probably my most honest answers, if not my most accurate. I will be interested to see how this changes by the time we get to the end of the year and all the kind of wrap-up content that comes out, and whether if I might come back and answer some similar questions. But let me know what your answers to these questions were. Specifically, let me know the book that made you cry and the book that made you happy, and whether or not is the book that made you happy the best book or your favorite book, or is it like what made it make you happy, I think is what I want to know, because I don't know that necessarily favorite and best and happy are necessarily always the same book, is what I'm thinking. If you don't want to self-reflect and answer any of those questions, then just leave me an emoji that makes you think of summer. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that I will see you as we go on to the second half of 2006 and in the next video. Goodbye.